Well, hi there and good morning, everybody. Welcome to to Baby Talk and the Childbirth Educators Professional Forum. We're really pleased to have you joining us this morning. For those of you who might not know me, I'm Lynn Bluff. I coordinate the Childbirth Educators Professional Forum, where we have two arms, the healthcare professionals and the consumers. And for the professionals, we've got the Childbirth Educators Professional Forum, we've got the Childbirth Educators Professional Forum magazine, and we've got the Childbirth Educators Professional Forum app. There we go. Okay, under the Childbirth Educators Professional Forum, we hold roadshows for the professionals, awareness week campaigns, hand-in-hand courses, the Be Connected group. So there's really a lot available for the professionals. Just as a reminder, in case you want to pass on the information to your friends and colleagues, that there will be another webinar, a repeat of this morning on Tuesday evening from 7 until 9. People are still welcome to register and join us. There will also be a recording done, which will be it will become available on the Childbirth Educators Professional Forum app. That'll be free to access, and we'll let you know when that is available as well. Just before this morning's webinar finishes, there will be a link in the chat box that you can fill out the feedback form. And when you fill out the form, you will then automatically, your certificate of attendance with your 2 CPD points towards perinatal accreditation will be sent through to you. So if you please all make sure that you just fill in the feedback form so you receive your certificates of attendance, that would really be great. Okay, so it gives me pleasure to hand over now to Naazneen Khan, who is the chairperson for the IFA, and in her own right, she is a registered dietitian, and she is going to be running this morning for us. Thanks, and over to you, Naazneen.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Lynn. It's such an honor and privilege to be here with the Childbirth Educators group again. I know that I kind of did show up on your screens somewhere along your road shows, and I'm hoping that a lot of you that were there at the road shows have actually logged in this morning. So just as a matter of clarity from the outset, I just want you to know that, yes, we are obviously discussing the R991, and it's quite an intensive legal document. So I don't want to do death by PowerPoint where I'm just keeping chunks of the R991 onto a slideshow. What I do want to share with you is that we're going to keep this very interactive. I've obviously sent through some pre-work. I hope that you've prepared for yourself. I'm not going to ask you to, share anything on the screen, etc. But it's going to be important to have some excellent dialogue so that we can finalize what the R991 means realistically for us on the ground. So we're going to run this session. Obviously, you're not able to ask any questions verbally yet. I don't know whether we're going to allow for that, but you are absolutely welcome to continue asking questions in the chat. Where the chat button is, and feel free to ask the questions. If I'm unable to answer it immediately through the presentation, Lynn, do we have then time to maybe, I'm sure we will, to take the questions in at the end? I will call on you for help on that. So
yes,
let's get. Thanks so much, Lynn. I'm going to share my screen, so please just give me a second so that I can get it up and running for everybody. Just quickly get the slideshow. Okay. There we go. Are we able to see everything? Do you see the presentation, Lynn?
Yes, all good and correct.
Wonderful, wonderful. So just a little bit about the Infant Feeding Association for those of you who don't know. The Infant Feeding Association is an industry body that's basically been established to be the voice, a collective voice of the industry, the infant feeding industry. So that would be the big companies and that make infant formula, but also those that make the accessory items like teeth and bottles. I want to say that we are absolutely 100% on board and toe the line and signatories to the R991, which is then, of course, what we're discussing today. It is the legislation that helps us govern ourselves as the industry. We have certain members in the manufacturing industry that obviously are subscribers to this association. But I just want to advise you that there are those that are not. So in the event that you do find any serious contraventions, chances are that it's not the member companies. So I just wanted to let you know that upfront. But we're going to go through this process. And like I said, please feel free. I can obviously share with you who it is that actually does belong to our Infant Feeding Association then. So as promised, we are doing what we call lovingly the R991 training, and this is then the regulations that have been promulgated in 2012 to help us guide ourselves when it comes to foodstuffs for infant and young children. So this comes out of the Department of Health under the Nutrition Directorate, and it's applicable to every single manufacturer, but it's also applicable to every single healthcare professional. Now, the reason that we're here today is that, along the line, we often find that healthcare professionals have either not heard of the R991, or they've heard of it and don't really understand it, or they've heard of it and understand it and are frustrated because there are certain companies or smaller ones that kind of just transgress and they blur the lines. So hopefully today we're going to get some clarity on this, and we're going to be able to rest well at the end of this presentation to know what it is that we are allowed to do and not allowed to do. So I've just set some objectives for this session. Of course, you might have your own objectives, which obviously would come through in some of the questions that you'd ask me. But for me specifically, what I thought that this meeting's objectives would look like is, first of all, it's to inform about the R991, what is allowed, what's not allowed. And that goes hand in glove with the education part, because like I said, we know some of it, even as the chairperson of the IFA, even as manufacturing companies are members, we are constantly discussing and educating ourselves on the R991, because there are some gray areas that often come up, and we do find that especially non-member companies push the boundaries. So we want to be able to continue to educate ourselves. So these conversations are ongoing. So the education on R991, I promise you, you'll find out, it doesn't end. We'd like to inspire and motivate, of course, to be able to apply the R991 guidelines and legislation, and to motivate you to report those that are transgressing, but also to motivate you to do the right thing by this legislation. We obviously would love to promote collaborations between you as a fraternity, but also as a healthcare professional and us, in terms of what it is that we do, how we could support, whether it is a nursing association that you belong to, etc. We'd love to promote this collaboration to be able to make sure that we get the right messages out. And then, of course, this is also it really is all underpinned by, how we are able to, once we've got this information, to discern and then apply the right ways of working and dump then the wrong ways of working. And then, of course, we are very strong on adherence and compliance. Just to make you aware that the people that do represent the different companies on our membership are the regulatory bodies in individual companies and also their scientific representatives. So it is a very organized, very strict way in which we package our efforts. So let me take you to the background of these R991 regulations. These regulations were they had started putting them together all the way back in 2010, and they had then offered industry an opportunity to comment, and then was promulgated in 2012. But essentially, the regulations are there to help curtail, one, the labeling, advertising and promotion of infant formula, including infant follow-up formula, any liquid or powdered milk products, and other foodstuffs that are intended for infants and young children. Now, when you look at infants and young children, the age group that we're looking at is from birth through to 36 months. So that's birth to 3 years. And any product that's intended for children in this age group that is in the format of infant and follow-up formula, liquid, powdered milk products are then what we call designated products. And I will explain that in the next slide. And the whole idea of these regulations were then to make sure that these measures will then apply to whether you on the manufacturing front, whether you're a distributor, supplier, a retailer, whether you're in the marketing staff, and also to make sure that, you know, when the information is disseminated to the end user, that it is absolutely critically scientifically correct. So this is the background of the R991. But just one step further back is, of course, these regulations were inspired then by the World Health Organization's breastfeeding code. And this breastfeeding code is also a code that governs what international companies in the same category are able to say or do when it comes to the products that they supply in this category. So just, you know, to give you that holistic picture, and also just to finalize that conversation, every single one of our members are signatories to that breastfeeding code of conduct. It's not a negotiable for them to be part of our association. If you look at the R991, there's a whole host of definitions. They tell you what's a blended formula. They tell you what is a healthcare professional, what is a nutrition claim, etc. Now, like I said at the beginning, I don't want to give you an information dump. I mean, that's a legal document. So what I do want to do is I want to focus here on what it is that applies to you as a healthcare professional in the nursing forum or in the healthcare platform that you operate. And if we're looking at what the designated product is for your relevance, let's quickly go through the list. So it's infant formula, and that's from the category of birth to 6 months. And this includes if the baby is preterm, okay? So anytime that this child is born, whatever nourishment this child is getting till the age of 6 months is what we call a designated product. Then in addition, it's any follow-up formula, which is in 6 months onwards, okay? And then it's also infant or follow-up formula for the special dietary purposes or management of medical conditions. For example, if a child is born, for example, with a gut issue, or there's a problem with digestion, then there are certain formulations that are ideal or specifically developed to help this child thrive. And often this child is in the NICU. And even if it's not in the NICU, if it's in a normal ward, there's special dietary foods that are intended for specific conditions. If this is available, it's also governed by the R991. Then there are certain conditions on complementary foods. Of course, you know, that includes your cereals, your pureed foods, etc. And then on top of that, it's all the liquid milks, powdered milks, modified powdered milks, or powdered milks that are suitable for this age category. And then interestingly enough, it's all the accessory items as well. So it's not just formula, it's feeding bottles, it's teats, it's feeding cups with spouts, straws included. Okay, so, you know, you think, you know, you're flipping open a nice little cup for a child and you're going to put in, you know, the milk or the formula or breast milk in there. Those are all regulated products, all designated products, and fall under the same rules and regulations as an infant formula. Okay, I see there's one chat. Oh, no. All right. I'm going to move on to the next slide, which then speaks to specific labeling, composition, and packaging laws. And this is a basis for every single manufacturer. And, you know, if you're in doubt, you know, these are literally the points that you need to look at. If a manufacturer is contravening this already on packaging, on composition, it's important that you are aware of it. So first of all, I'm sure that you're aware of Codex standards, and this is an international code of composition, what an infant formula at a certain age is meant to have, what ingredients they're meant to have, whether they can use coloring, etc. So it's a really very scientific document, but every single product has to conform to Codex standards. Any graphic representation on a packaging or labeling has to only speak to safe preparation and reconstitution of that formula or the sterilization of equipment and utensils. We cannot have a picture of you know, that's going to be engaging or that's going to actually bring mom to wanting to buy that. So there's no graphic representations of butterflies in a little field or a cooing baby, etc. Very, very important. And that's something that you should look at to be able to understand whether this product is actually towing the line or not. What else is very important on packaging is obviously ingredients, because you need to know what's in that packaging. That's the labeling laws. And then very importantly, there cannot be any negative claims about breast milk. You cannot say that breast milk, you know, for a baby at, I don't know, 3 months is not the same as breast milk for a baby at 6 months. We know that breast milk evolves, and we know that it's a complete food, and it changes with the needs of the baby. We understand that completely. We will not allow any kind of negative claims about breast milk. In that spirit, it will also not be accepted that any kind of claim about the product would have benefits over and above those of breast milk. So you cannot say, you know, if you this product X has omega-3s in it, and that's why it's better than breast milk. Or you cannot say that it's as close to breast milk as possible. Those are all claims that will not be allowed and are not allowed on tin especially. You cannot say that it's an indication of suitability for all infants. In fact, there are certain claims that you have to make on fact that says breast milk is best, and feeding anything else you know, will interfere with the breastfeeding process. So there's very, very strict ways in which you have to communicate this. You are able to put your company logo on there, any kind of religious certification that says Milchiko Halal or, you know, certified. You are not allowed to make any medicinal, health, or nutritional claims, and you cannot have a promotional label that says, buy me, I'm new, or that says, you know, get 2 for the price of 1, etc. So none of those promotional aspects will be allowed. I'm going to stop here just to see if there are any questions at this stage. If we can answer them now, and if I'm not going to be preempting what we've got on the slides coming up, I'm very comfortable to answer your questions here. Anybody? Okay, I'm going to then move on to the case study. each one of you would have gotten this case study as a pre-work, and I'm going to read through this so that you're able to, just refresh your memories. So this is a very fictitious company that I made up. It's called Sleeping Baby, and they manufacture infant products. So whether it's formula, whether it's cereal, whether it is bottles and teats, etc. And they've now just launched this whole range of products. And in an attempt to communicate their products, they're doing different activities, and they're making sure that healthcare professionals understand it, and that they get their foot in the door in the supermarkets or in the different pharmacies, etc. So they're listing their products. What the task at hand was to see whether the five, let me just see if I can get a pointer up here. The five, can you see a pointer?
No, I can't see a pointer.
Let's just see a laser pointer now.
Yes, now it's there.
Thank you. So if we're looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 examples that I've put here, your task was to look at these examples and understand with the R991 that was attached to your pre-work, to understand whether this company is actually doing the right thing, whether they are contravening, and what your thoughts were about it. So we're going to go through each of these examples, and we're going to be able to try and answer your questions or any queries that might come up. So the first one is that this company sponsored a breakfast for healthcare professionals, and they catered this gorgeous setup. And basically what they did was speak about their product range and the scientific background to their product range. The second was they also had an exhibition at a consumer expo. It's called the Baby Boo Expo. And what they did was that they had a lovely exhibition stand, and they had this little bunny that kind of, interacted with everybody on the stand. Then they obviously had to list their products in store. So they had these wonderful banners that were directing, shoppers and patrons to the aisle. And then also, they, on their tins, they had wonderful examples of how these products, were so beneficial. But of course, advertising takes on quite a new format these days. It's not just in store and on magazines. So there's also mommy bloggers, which we know happen on so many different levels, the endorsements, the influencers, etc. And as part of this campaign, they enlisted mommy bloggers to talk about their products. They listed the availability, the pricing, the benefits, and how to use the product. And then to make sure that they tidied up this entire loop, they had all the websites loaded with the product information, and it was directed at healthcare professionals. And they also then had a customer service center, which then obviously answered any questions regarding their products. So before I jump into each one, I see that there's a question. If a company is not a member of the IFA and is in question contravening, what role does IFA play? I'm going to save that one, Patricia, and then we'll talk about that right at the end. Thank you for that. So I'm going to then skip to the next slide. Oh, I suppose I need to close that off first. Good. So we're going to look at each of these situations in detail. So the first question, or the first scenario that I had there, was all you healthcare professionals. I don't know if you can see any of you there. No, I'm just joking. This is AI generated, so you're not going to see a specific local company. But the Sleeping Baby company has then invited healthcare professionals to this catered breakfast, and they're going to then discuss their product range. At the breakfast, they cover the latest science in each of the brands, showcasing groundbreaking infant formula range. So I would then like to launch a poll. Why don't I get my poll? There we go. Okay, so poll 1. Let's launch that. I would love for each of you to answer these questions. There's 2 questions on your screen, and it's referring to this specific example. Let me know what you think. Is this breakfast in contravention of the R991? Yes or no? And the second question is, would this event be in contravention if the guests were not fed a breakfast? So you get some time to answer this, and then we will then take your answers and discuss them. I'll give you a few minutes. Any more takers are wonderful, wonderful. Okay, the poll will close in 15 seconds. Five seconds. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. They were in the first, let me share the results with you. There we go. So most of you answered yes, that this breakfast is in contravention of the R991. A small percentage mentioned that it's not. And the second bit is whether if we took away the food, would this then fall within the ambit of the R991? A smaller percentage said yes, it will, and the larger percentage said no, it won't change the status quo. So first of all, the first question, absolutely. This breakfast is in direct contravention of the R991. No manufacturing company of infant formula or designated products may entertain or offer any kind of subsistence or refreshments, etc., to healthcare professionals at any time, especially at an event where they are discussing their infant products or their designated products. So the answer to the first question is absolutely yes, this is in contravention. The second part of this question is, if we removed the food, would this be a contravention? The answer is yes. It would still be a contravention if they are discussing the infant formula range specifically. What they can do, and let's clarify here, is that they can discuss the science in their products. They can absolutely discuss their science in their products. So for example, if they had Sleeping Baby Formula 1, they can, without showing the tin, without having direct relation to saying, you know, if you have omega-3s are also in our product, and omega-3s are going to help with brain development. What they can do is talk about the science that omega-3 has been beneficial or has been proven to show that the brain development is, you know, exponential, or whatever else it is that's in that product. But they are unable to have their range of products there and market their range of products. They're not allowed to draw the comparison or the association between their products and the science that they have. I know it sounds actually like, why? Because, I mean, we're gonna know that, you know, if it's Sleeping Baby and they're talking about Sleeping Baby Formula 1, that it's in their product. It's about being able to understand the inference, and it's not allowed to be displayed or to create a whole rah-rah event about. Now, this is just a simple breakfast. Similar to this, which would be contravening the law, would be if the company decided, hey, we're taking you on a safari. You know, after breakfast, we're going to talk about the products, and we're going to eventually we're taking you, then get ready at the crack of dawn tomorrow morning. We're taking you on a safari, and after that, we're going to be treating you to manicures. Okay, those are all not allowed, in direct contravention. And the challenge that you face there is that not only the manufacturing company or the contravening company would be taken to task by government, but as a healthcare professional, you are seen as being complicit. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to, like we said, educate and inform. Are there any questions about this example? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. The second one is Sleeping Baby are at the Baby Boo Expo. They make a range of products and have their mascot, which is this fantastic looking bunny. And this little mascot is interacting at the stand. Remember, Baby Boo Expo is a consumer expo. You know, they've got all their nice products on display there. They've got a nice shelf there. And basically, this little bunny is energized and welcoming a whole lot of patrons to the stand. So I'm going to then go back here and get back into polls. Sorry, I need to open that again. Apologies for that. Back. The next one. Let's launch that one. Is the bunny the contravention? Please answer yes or no. Number 2, would the company be in the clear if they removed the bunny and had the range of products displayed? Let's wait for a few more choices or answers to come through. We've got a minute still in hand. Okay, it looks like everybody's answered. Still coming through. Any more takers? Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. Let's share the results. So the first question, is the bunny the contravention? Yes, the bunny is the contravention, say 73% of you, and 27% say no. If we took away bunny, would it be a contravention? We have a proper 50-50 split there. Very interesting. So first of all, the bunny is not the only contravention, but he certainly is one of them. So mascots and a special attention drawn to an infant feeding or formula stand at a Baby Boo Expo, which is consumer facing, is complete contravention of the R991. It will not be allowed, and if organizers are allowing it, they are also complicit, but often we will, as the IFA, then make sure that they take that aspect of contravention away. It's happened in the course of last year, in fact, at several of these events, where we've asked the company to take down certain things, not a mascot specifically, but if there are any contraventions at that exhibition, be sure to know that we will take that down. The second thing is, would the company be in the clear if they removed the bunny and had the range of products displayed? So they wouldn't be in contravention if the products displayed were in a designated infant formula aisle that's in the expo, or if they had it in their aisle, but was not in their stand or exhibition, but was not front view. So for example, this company then, Sleeping Baby, makes infant formula, they make teats, they make cereals, they make a whole host of paraphernalia, right, that are all related to infant nutrition or infant feeding. They would be able to exhibit their breast pumps and the bottles that you collect your breast milk in. They would be able to keep cereals on display on the stand, and they would be able to keep their growing up milks, which is then from 36 months onwards, on their stand or on the exhibition stand. If they kept the infant formula or the designated products, these products would have to be at the back facing of their stand, but we do require, and we ask our members specifically, to remove the designated products from their stand and keep it on the allocated shelf space that most of these expos make provision for. The same would happen with bottles and teats. Now, you'd find that there are companies in South Africa that only make bottles and teats and pacifiers. They don't make infant formula. They don't make infant food. So what would happen in a case where they have to display their products? So previous to this last few years, these companies used to have interaction on their stands, you know, to draw people into the stands to explain the different the bottles and teats, etc. It is not allowed to have any kind of promotional activity on these stands. So you cannot have somebody saying, ma'am, can I interest you in explaining to you what is the benefit of using this teat that's made out of, I don't know, polyurethane, and the other one's made out of latex. So it's not allowed. So the contravention of this little bunny is his existence, poor guy, but also the fact that he is not the only contravention if there's any kind of promotional activity linked to the designated products, and if they are in explicit view of the consumers or the attendees of that expo. In addition to this, I'd just like to say there should not be any banners or call outs or special promotions bringing moms to the stand. I see there are some questions, but I think we're going to, okay, let's see. Question, hope this is not, there's no stupid questions. I can definitely tell you that. Why are these regulations in place? Is it not easy to take away from breastfeeding, or are there other reasons? Indeed, it is to take breastfeeding and to amplify the benefits of breastfeeding, and to secure and prevent reduced breastfeeding rates. It's really to encourage the exclusive breastfeeding from birth to 6 months, and then for continuing breastfeeding up to 2 years. So absolutely, it is in place to be able to make sure that breastfeeding and the practices around breastfeeding, bonding, etc., are secured and that they are protected. So I hope that answers you, Karma. And then for Anthea, please explain the difference if the bunny, etc., was an event for healthcare workers. So the bunny is not allowed at healthcare workers stand either. I think also to have a bunny at the healthcare workers stand would be a little bit, you know, like putting on a cartoon for a teenager. You know, they would shudder the thought, unless it's nowadays, you know, you get these Japanese animes, those are different things. But no, essentially what would be is that, no, we're not going to, there's no allowance for a mascot at all. However, at a health professionals exhibition or conference, it depends who's hosting the conference, because there are some bodies or some conference organizers, health bodies or associations that will not allow infant formula manufacturers to bring their products to exhibit at all. And this is now an exhibition, of course, talking about, we've now launched Sleeping Baby Formula 1, and it has XYZ benefits in it. And I'm talking to you as a nurse now. There are certain institutions that would not allow this whatsoever. And then there are those that would allow it. So constitutionally and according to the legislation, it is allowed to have these conversations with healthcare professionals, absolutely. It is not allowed to display the product willy-nilly. So you can have one tin of each product. I can't have, shelf space from the roof to the floor, or ceiling to floor, and speaking to each of the brands. I can have one tin to explain to a healthcare professional that this is our range, and I should be able to expand on the science to the healthcare professionals and not related to the product. So there are specific clauses that are necessary to keep in mind. It really depends. I'll give an example. So many of these manufacturing companies have infant formula, and they also have adult nutrition products. Yeah. And there's at least 3 or 4 that straddle both adult and infant nutrition. At a conference held last year for healthcare professionals, the organizing committee, and it is, something that we contacted, but it is something that they came back with, and, we, instead of creating further, problems, we just decided to step back. But they did not allow even the exhibition of the adult formulations if you were an infant formula manufacturer. So it really depends where you'd be and who it is that is organizing the conference. I'm going to read this out so that everybody sees and here's the next part of this question. And the next question: no matter how hard one tries to promote exclusive breastfeeding, there are still some mothers that will decide to use formula. What's a healthcare worker's responsibility in this case? Can we keep this question, Lynn and Tammy, for the end so we can talk about this? I'd like to, keep the slides or the questions about the slides topical, and then we'll move to the other questions later. If you're okay with that, Jaggi, that will be wonderful so that we can keep the continuity. And then the next question from Patricia is, please clarify if a formula production company is contravening the regulation by sponsoring a scientific journal club for professionals only, where breakfast is catered after discussing any science topic, excluding all formula names, marketing of the formula, and display of the company logo or formula within the journal club meeting. So if they are feeding you and they make infant formula, it's a contravention. They can certainly have a journal club, and you can have CPD points, and you can have robust discussions and engagement. But the minute that any kind of subsistence is offered, it is a contravention. So I would suggest that, you bring it to their attention, and they're welcome to have a conversation with us at the IFA, and we can redirect them to doing the right things then. Please feel free to let them know, and we will be able to assist on that. But they certainly can have the scientific event. They can offer you water, because we are in summer, but there's no subsistence in this format of, here you go, we're giving you a little breakfast box, or we're sending you some muffins, etc. Okay, it's a pleasure. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to move on to the next one. So the next situation is this wonderful banner in store, because they're now obviously redirecting their patrons to their formula aisle, and they want to make sure that everybody sees their products and understand that it's now, launched in store. And of course, like I said, in addition, the tin has been clearly marked to describe the benefits of the product. So in order to launch this, let's quickly find, why am I not able to launch? Here we go. The next poll is then question 1. Would a smaller banner be more acceptable? Question 2. If all companies, so not just Sleeping Baby, but their competitors, etc., if all the infant formula were moved to the front of the store and not favoring anyone in particular, would the store be in line with the R991? Any more takers before I close the poll? Okay, I'm going to end it. Share the results. So question 1, would a smaller banner be more acceptable? 15% say yes, 85% say no. If all companies' infant formulas were moved to the front of the store, would the store be in line with the R991? 35% says yes, 65% says no. So first question, the majority is correct. 85% of you say no, the smaller banner would not be acceptable. The whole idea is not drawing attention to the product in the aisle. You're not allowed to have wings and banners and call outs. What you can have on shelf, though, is if there's a new product or a new formulation, you are allowed to have what we call a shelf talker. For those of you who work in clinics, etc., in a store, in a Clicks or a Dis-Chem, or even so, I mean, you would know that a shelf talker is literally a strip at the point of product on shelf that will say either the formulation has changed, or packaging has changed, or that they've included or the packaging size has changed. So it has to be a very small on shelf call out. Sometimes you can put a sticker on the existing tin to say a new formulation or new packaging, because obviously if a mom is already coming to the aisle, she knows that she's looking for Sleeping Baby Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, whichever it is. And she's going to be able to say, hey, but you changed from a blue packaging to a yellow packaging. So just to be able to help her recognize, and that's what is allowed. But these huge wings and shelf disruptors are not allowed in store to drive any consumer to the actual product. Also, these, at some stage, they used to have these little pitter-patter feet, the stickers on the floor, decals that take the consumer to the actual point of sale. So no, those are also not allowed. And then gondola ends, which is then obviously special displays at the end or at the front of an aisle, are also not allowed. So nothing that has any kind of promotional intention at front of aisle, in aisle, at shelf, at product interruption aisle, in the aisle, is these things are not allowed. So a smaller banner would not be acceptable, but on shelf, a little talker that will say, product has changed, that is allowed. You're not allowed to say new product by me, or, new in store, none of that. So it is an existing product. If it is a new product that's being launched, the fact that it's listed in the store should be able to show mom that it's there. And of course, as healthcare professionals, if this company did the right thing, came and advised you on the scientific benefits of this product, and shared with you, these are the things that are in the latest science, then they would obviously then say, hey, this is the product that you can use. So the next part of this question is, if all companies' infant formula will move to the front of the store, would the store be in line with the R991? So this is a tricky one. So in essence, it is not a contravention. It is not a contravention because it's not favoring any product. It's just merchandising. It's how this pharmacy or store, keeps their aisles, and maybe they brought it right to the front of store, and that's just the way they merchandise. They figure out this is how shopper behaves, and they come in first and they want to buy Vicks and they want to buy Vaseline, and then after that they want to buy infant formula. I'm just using random brands here, ladies. So that would then not be a contravention. However, it's happened in the past where a store had all these infant formulas in direct view of consumers' eyes. So, if you walk past the store, you're going from one store to the next, literally this disrupts the consumer's eye. And the Department of Health felt that this was a contravention, although it's not explicit in the R991 as such. And they asked the store to rearrange their shopper experience. Sometimes things are really clear in the R991, and sometimes it's a bit of a negotiation with DOH. So although we tried to negotiate that this was not a contravention, we like to do the right thing. So the entire the entire shelf was moved into a more appropriate part of the shelf of the store. So I'm going to stop sharing that, and I see that there is another question. Samantha, her poll is not popping up. Is there anybody else that's experiencing the same?
No, Tammy was trying to help Samantha directly, so it's okay.
Okay. Sorry, there's also a gentleman on this. I'm so sorry. I only said ladies earlier. Excuse me. I apologize. I'm going to leave that aspect to Tammy. Is that fine?
Yes, that's 100% fine.
Thank you. I'm going to move to the next one. Okay, so this question, or this part of the case study then, is as part of their marketing campaign, Sleeping Baby have had mommy bloggers describe their product on the independent platforms, listing benefits, pricing, and availability. In addition, Sleeping Baby gives advice to moms on how to use their products. So let's look at this poll and see what makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to read out the questions, Samantha, and I think Andre, and if anybody else is struggling, just, even for yourself, if you can just answer that. So the first question is, are the bloggers allowed to share information of this nature? Yes or no? The second part of this question would be, would it be allowed if the bloggers removed the description of the products and kept the information solely about the pricing and availability of the product? And then question 3 is, it's necessary for parents to know how to use the product. Do you agree that the company is not wrong to share the information? Yes or no? Any more takers? Let it go for a little bit because there's 3 questions here. Okay, I'm going to end this poll. Let's share some results. So are the bloggers allowed to share information of this nature? 41% said yes, 59% said no. So the answer to this is no. They are not allowed to share this type of information, especially because they are not healthcare professionals. And secondly, any information, especially about pricing, where they could be comparing elements of sleeping baby and then their competitors and saying, this one's cheaper than the other, this one has more benefits than the other. This mommy blogger is not allowed to do any of that, especially the fact that the mommy bloggers have been approached and are being paid for their time and their efforts. Now, the question will arise, so what if Sleeping Baby didn't pay the mommy bloggers and, it was an independent mommy blogger? I would say that as the IFA, we would approach the mommy blogger and ask her to take it down because it is in contravention of the actual R991. So any information about the benefits, about where you can find it, about how expensive it is, etc., not allowed on the consumer front whatsoever. R991 does not allow it. Question 2, would it be allowed if the bloggers removed the description of the products and kept the information solely about the pricing and availability of the products? The answer is no, it would not be allowed, especially because there is a specific clause that's in the R991 that speaks to the fact that no pricing and availability of products shall be advertised, especially because this is part of a marketing campaign. Question 3, and this is an interesting one. It's necessary for parents to know how to use the product. Do you think that the company is not wrong to share the information? The company is not allowed to share the information to moms, to parents directly. They are not allowed to communicate on any level with a end consumer or a mom or a parent about the benefits of their products and how to use it, whether it is to feed 3 times a day, whether it is to feed when baby is niggly, whether you are traveling, how to split the milk into 2 feeds, whatever. I'm making things up as I go here. The company is not at all allowed to speak or share information with the parents. The company is not allowed to share information with non-healthcare professionals at all. So all of these activities by the company, by Sleeping Baby on this specific example or the specific case are all in contravention of the R991. Sorry. Next slide. To add real value, Sleeping Baby has loaded all their products onto the website for access to healthcare professionals only. They have a dedicated service center to answer any consumer questions regarding their products. So that I can launch this. And this is the last poll, ladies and gentlemen, but there's lots more questions coming up. So the first question, for those of you who still can't see it, is the website for healthcare professionals acceptable? Yes or no? The second part, are there any problems with having a call center for moms? Okay, any more takers? I shall end the poll. Let's share the results. So first question, is the website for healthcare professionals acceptable? 87% of you said yes, and you would be correct. 87% of you are correct in saying that the website is allowed for healthcare professionals. Now, let me clarify that before we go any further. First things first, if there's a website and all the products are listed, the entry into this website has to, first of all, have a disclaimer that says that this website is only for healthcare professionals. Secondly, we at the IFA have taken it a step further, that if a healthcare professional truly is a healthcare professional, because it's so easy just to click, yes, I am a healthcare professional. It can't just be, a little pop-up that comes onto the screen to say, are you a healthcare professional, yes or no? It has to actually create a space for you to put in your professional HPCSA registration number. And that's the only way that you would then be able to access your this website to get the lowdown on whatever product information, scientific information, other kind of engagement that you need, whether it's CPD activities or CPD points or announcements about such. That's the interface that you need to pass before you are able to access the infant feeding company's website. It has to be for healthcare professionals. And as a result, the HPCSA registration number needs to be loaded. So that's the first one. And that last part we've put in as the IFA because it just doesn't make sense for Joe Soap to be able to just click yes and enter that website. The second part is, are there any problems with having a call center for moms? Also a little bit of a tricky one. So each company is mandated, especially if you have, a big enough range, to have a call center. Now, the call center is not specifically for moms, but of course, moms will phone and say, hey, this product is out of stock in Dis-Chem, or this product is out of, I can't find it, that has the packaging changed, whatever might happen. So these call center agents, first of all, are preferred to be healthcare professionals. And most of these infant formula manufacturing companies, because it has to deal with nutrition, have a dietitian or a physiologist, but you often or a nurse, but must be a healthcare professional that's trained specifically to talk to moms. However, they are not allowed to give any form of advice to moms over the phone. The generic statements, if a mom says, my baby's got colic, what infant formula can I give them? The call center agent would show empathy, but redirect them to a healthcare professional. So if somebody, and I was on the call center, and somebody called me and said, Naazneen, you know what, my child's got colic and I need to know which of sleeping baby formula can you recommend? I would then say, you know what, please go and speak to your healthcare professional. If you need me to recommend somebody in your area, I'll pull up a list, and I can't just say, Lynn is the person that you need to go to, because that would also then be referring directly, especially if Lynn is already promoting or is already recommending my product. So I would then have to say, these are a list of 5 practitioners in your area, if mom does ask, but often we'd say, please consult your pediatrician, or please consult your clinic sister, etc. So to that point where we cannot engage on the product information with consumer, what this call center agent can effectively discuss is, if there was, I found a cockroach in my baby's formula, that will then be arranged, please send it through. We'll give you some time to send it so that we can have a look at whether it was from the store, whether it was in our manufacturing process, etc. So that's what a call center or service center agent may engage with. If there were any kind of untoward events, that would be within the ambit of that call center agent. I'm going to have a quick look at this question. Let's just close here. The question is, going back to my previous question regarding the journal club, if the company paid an educational grant or membership fee or table fee to a professional association or independent educational forum, and that forum or association then provides the scientific platform for the journal club or forum and provides a breakfast afterwards, is that in contravention of the R991? That's a fantastic, fantastic question. Thank you so much. So when a company has an event and they are the sole sponsors of that event, and that event speaks specifically or has majority of the content in that presentation or in that setup, information regarding child nutrition or infant feeding, then that is a contravention. But for example, if you get to a convention or a conference and you've got Sleeping Baby and you've got 4 of its competitors and they've all pooled money together at this contravention, so they've obviously paid an exhibition fee and they've paid a seminar fee or whatever else that the organizers charge, then that money that has been collected by the organizers, obviously then they feed their attendees. That is allowed because the money has been pooled. But if Sleeping Baby says, hey, you know what, I'm contracting XYZ person to feed you specifically in this session, and I'm doing a journal club for this audience of people, that's not going to be allowed, because the money is solely from one specific. It's literally just paying a middleman to order the hit. That's literally the understanding behind that. But dramatic from my side, but yeah, I think you get the picture there. You're welcome. So I hope that this has given you some idea and a better stance of what your responsibility is when it comes to being a healthcare professional, and how you can or can't discern for yourself whether something is in direct contravention or whether something is towing the gray line, or whether it is a acceptable event or occurrence. So these were just a few examples. Of course, I mean, it's not the end all and be all of everything. There are certainly more. I mean, I've spoken about all these codex things that you've already seen that, but there's definitely more. There's issues around how you display, how you educate, etc. And I'd like to quickly cover that. And if there's any questions, again, there's no polls here, but please feel free to engage on the chat and ask your questions there if there's anything that needs clarification. I'm just going to quickly take a quick sip of water. Give me a seckie. Thank you. So, display of designated products in your clinics, in your practices, in your institutions, whether you work at a hospital, whether you work at the the clinics that are affiliated to the hospital, whether you've got a private room somewhere, whether you work from home. Are you allowed to display designated products and educational material? You are not allowed to display any designated product. So if you've got a tin of a Sleeping Baby formula and you want to tell mommy about this, you're not allowed to display it in full view of everyone. Yes, of course. I mean, if mom asks you a specific question and you've got, you want to show her, you can pull it out from your drawer, but it's not meant to be displayed in full public view at any given time. There should not be any display of the name or the logo of the manufacturing or distributing company if the material carries messaging about infant and young child nutrition feeding practices. What do I mean by this? I'm going to explain it in slides to come, but basically, if Sleeping Baby comes and says to you, here you go, I've got a pen and I've got Sleeping Baby's name on there, and when you click the little button at the top, you're going to get this wonderful AI generated augmented reality that's going to come out, and it's going to tell you about all the infant products, etc. You cannot have that pen there because it displays the name and the logo of the manufacturing or distributing company. Then the third point, I do see the chats coming up. I'm going to have a look in a minute. The third point on this is that no educational material bearing the brand name or description of a designated product may be displayed. So, for example, a rep comes into your rooms and she's got this wonderful mouse pad, or she's got on the mouse pad, she's got, you know, a little algorithm that says, when in doubt, feed baby this for colic, feed baby that for rashes, feed baby this for teething, whatever it might be. That educational material, whether it be in the format of a little booklet, whether it may be the format of a mouse pad, or it's a format of, I don't know, a poster, is not allowed to be displayed in the face of the public at all, at any time. I was expecting quite a bit of interaction and questions on this one, so let's just have a look. What about the branded bags or shakers? Let me go back up. Sorry. Oh, sorry, my video is off. Excuse me. Here we go. Thanks, Lynn. Sorry about that. The questions again. Let's just quickly get the questions. Oh, gosh. So the first question, and just make sure that I don't go back here. Okay, that was there. Are we as HCPs allowed to recommend a specific brand, or we should rather give pointers and certain ingredients to the... No, you absolutely can recommend a specific brand. I mean, you can decide that a sleeping baby, in your experience and in your, you know, practice, you've seen that babies react to sleeping baby formula 1, and you see that they have peaceful passing of stools, and I don't know, sometimes you just have a faith in something through the scientific information. You absolutely can say, you know, I'd like you to use sleeping baby formula 1. Nothing wrong with that. You know, try this out. Absolutely fine. But you would have done your due diligence on that. Absolutely, right? Then the second one is, let's just quickly go there. Are we as HCPs allowed to recommend a specific, oh, that I did that one, okay. What about branded logo, bags, shakers, example, with Nestle or Nutricia logo given to the healthcare professionals? They're not given to the public, but the public may be exposed to it directly by a healthcare worker. So the logo, the company logo, remember, of like, for example, if I had a logo now of Sleeping Baby and I gave you a shaker, because the shaker is often affiliated to the adult range of products. I mean, you're not going to shake baby formula in there and drink it in your office, right? I hope not. But also at the same time, you need to understand, and that's why I said a lot of these infant manufacturers, also infant formula manufacturers, also make adult products. So if you've got any of the adult product devices there that are not used for infant and child nutrition, education, feeding, explanation, etc., they're fine. I mean, you can have the shaker for Optifast or whatever that the product is that's there. No issue with that. Absolutely nothing. And they weren't given with an intention of using it. Now, this is an interesting question also. So, for example, let's take the fact that a milk powder for aged 6 years, a kid aged 6 years, and I'm making this up as we go. Okay, let's use a real example. You know, you get follow-up formulas and you get growing up milk, right? I mean, it's a reality. You see it in store. The growing up milk has now created changing sheets. You know, the little linen that you get for your beds when kids come to see you, and, you know, the doctors change the linen sheets, and they've branded this. Let's say it's also sleeping baby, suitable from 3 years and above. So it's not a designated product, but you can use this on your little cot or on your little bed or whatever else. So it's intended for children that are under the age of 3 as well. I mean, a little kid, a baby that's going to come to you and you're using sleeping baby mat on your bed. that is also a contravention that is not allowed, because yes, while it is not a designated brand that's being advertised or that has their logo and that is, you know, sharing information, but the fact that you're using it for a designated category of children, that would be a serious contravention. And I think, you know, it's not explicit in the R991, but in the spirit of doing the right thing, you cannot have educational material for children under the age of 3 in the public space. So I hope that's given a little bit more information into this question here specifically, Anthea. Then Andre, what about existing items we have in the clinic that has been given in the past? Example, the mats we use for measuring babies' lengths, they are not easy to come by. And the one I have has vaccine names on it. So if it's vaccine names, but it is given to you by Sleeping Baby, and, you know, Sleeping Baby has infant formula, I'm going to ask you to, I don't know, if you can erase Sleeping Baby's name from there and continue to use the mat. But any new, I mean, you know, the fact that these companies know that you're not allowed to do this, as you as a healthcare professional, I know that it's such a nice tool, you want to use it. I'm going to say be very wary. Please don't, especially if that brand of a designated product is on that specific tool that makes your clinic, you know, accessible and practical. I'm so sorry. Pietra, a length mat with the no, with the number 3 formula. You see, so this is interesting, and that's your growing up milk. So the height chart that you know, undesignated product has is not only used for children after the age of 3, unless it is, because obviously we use the flat mat for babies, and then if you are able to stand at age 1.5 or 2, you are in the designated category. And here comes this length chart or height chart, and it's got, you know, branded stuff. I would caution you, it's not allowed, and essentially the companies are not allowed to make it, so they should know this by now. A branded bag cannot be given to parents with prenatal info inside. So it depends. If this branded bag contains, let's take a look. I know lots of institutions do this for new mommies, and they put, let's say the institution is, because it's not Sleeping Baby's bag specifically, but it's got, let's see, who's asked this question? Maxine. So it's got Maxine's baby clinic. Okay, so Maxine's baby clinic is branded on the bag, and inside the bag you've got a I'll go really wild here. You've got a breast pump, you've got nipple cream, and you've got the little container that collects the breast milk, and you've got a pamphlet or a baby forum forum magazine in there. That's allowed. There's nothing wrong with that. But I can't come with Sleeping Baby, and on the bag I have Sleeping Baby with my little bunny there, and I say, oh well, you know, you can put in all your breast milk appendages and accessories in here, and give this over to the mom. That is not allowed. I have a box in my cupboard with examples of the boxes of starter cereals to show the parents what the product looks like. That is allowed, absolutely. So when I explain to the mom, I show them the info of the packaging to help explain the difference between cereals, the ones that they would fantastically, no issue with that whatsoever. Please go ahead, that's really nice. Can products associated with feeding babies, example, breast milk expressions, feeding cups, bottles, be displayed? Yes, you can, absolutely. Anything that has to do with breast milk, augmenting breast milk production, expression, absolutely fine. However, just be very careful with the bottles, you know, and the teats, because that you should not be displaying. They are designated products. And if it is, you know, in your drawer and you take it out and say, hey, you know what, I'm able to show, then you've got a group of moms, you've got maybe a breathing techniques class, etc., and you want to show them what's to come. Of course, I mean, you're doing an educational lecture, and that's fine. But to have it displayed and, to show them, or when anybody walks in, that according to the R991 is a contravention. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions here. Thank you for a fantastic engagement in this. I really I enjoyed it tremendously. I'm going to skip ahead to the next one, and as the chats become available, I obviously will try and respond to them. The educational material that you are allowed to keep, okay, must be scientific and factual. So it must tell you if you feed a product that's got probiotic strain XYZ in it, is going to reduce diarrhea significantly by 50% in 2 days. Yes, you can accept that and you can keep that scientific material, absolutely fine. It should not have any kind of nutritional claim on there, any health claim that says, sleeping baby formula 1, if you give it in split doses twice a day, your baby is going to have this wonderful bowel motion, and you see the nice little arrows going into the bowel and and everything comes out. Not allowed, okay? And there should be no promotional aspect of the scientific or the educational material that comes to you. So I can't give you any kind of, loud call outs or any kind of buy one get one free kind of thing, or if you get the formula, you get a dropper with it. None of that. So no promotional activity on the educational material whatsoever. Okay, no, if for example you need to show a mom, and Sleeping Baby has now given you a tool that shows you all the different sizes and formats of poo, and there was one of those in my time in the field, where we used to show the healthcare professionals all the different poos. Is your baby constipated, or is this diarrhea, etc. You can certainly show them all of that, but it should not have any of the infant formula or infant products, any designated products or labeling, etc. on there. Remember, sometimes, and I want to quickly just talk about logos. Now, sometimes a company's logo is actually also a brand name. And that then is a matter to discuss. So if Sleeping Baby had a distinct logo that, carried the company logo, and it's got the bunny involved in that, you'll have to get a specific dispensation from DOH, especially if the product is imported. So, excuse me, if, for example, Sleeping Baby, the bunny is part of the logo, and now I've brought it in, I can't stick it, but it's my company registration, it's my company logo. It sits in some remote area of Alaska, and I bring it in, and that's basically, I can't change it. It's going to, the cost is going to be passed on to a consumer, but this is my brand. Then there's a specific dispensation that DOH and Nutrition Directorate will have to give for that. So lots of companies have gone through that process already. And that's why you'd sometimes find, as much as you're not allowed to have pictures, etc., on there, like bunnies and mascots, etc., you'll find that a lot of companies do have what's inherent in their logo. And, that is then obviously had been negotiated with DOH. Let's just see this other chat. Very complex. I do not see any compliance in supermarkets. What about labeling lots of products, foreign languages? So there's specific labeling laws. Of course, you are compelled to have English and to at least one other language, depending on pack size. So if you have a nice 1.8 kilo pack of infant formula, you must have then at least English and one other local language. It depends on the pack size, absolutely. But there's specific labeling regulations. So, like I said earlier on, I don't want to go into those details because that's more manufacturer facing, because they need to take into consideration the technical aspects, 3 millimeters, where they place it, the E values, which ingredients are listed first, etc. So there are those aspects in the R991, which are very manufacturer facing, which I didn't cover in this training. But you're right. It does become a bit of a challenge in store, but often, and especially I mean, I'm going to speak specifically to Dis-Chem because they are IFA members. You'll find that Dis-Chem is always doing the right thing. They're always doing the right thing. Or if they're not, they'll always ask a question. Their regs person and their scientific person sits on our exec board. So they're very familiar with what is allowed, what's not allowed, even at their baby exposed. They are very familiar with what, and they're instrumental in creating the codes of conduct within our body to be able to make sure that this happens. So sometimes you'll find that other retailers might have a special display in a Vergooi somewhere. And what ends up happening is it's usually the merchandiser that doesn't realize that they're contravening. So that's usually corrected very quickly, where we just give the area manager a call and say, hey, you know what, this was reported to us, it's a contravention, kindly take it down. So there's always this call that we follow, where we engage first. We give them 48 hours to respond. And if this isn't then responded to, and we often get shown middle finger as well, but if this is not responded to, we then escalate to DOH. So I think that kind of slightly answers one of the previous questions where I said we'll come to that at the end, but I will speak to that a lot more in the coming conversation. So with your permission, may I then continue to the next slide and see if more of these chats come up then. Okay, so the next slide then, and be mindful of time as well. Okay, we've got still about half an hour. So just a matter of interest, and I'd love for you guys to engage on the chat just to say, you know, what do you think of this slide? So we've got, but we've covered most of it. So, you know, you'll be able to answer this for yourself. What do you think about products that are discounted or promoted? We already know that promoted products are not part of the R991. What about low cost or discounted products? What are your thoughts on that? While you're thinking on that, we've covered the tools for the clinic, right? So I'm not, are we comfortable to leave that picture out? Gifting, at no point are you allowed to take personal gifts from a rep or from a company. Doesn't matter how small or big it is, you are not allowed from a company that's obviously making designated products. Okay, so that's doesn't matter if it is a pen, doesn't matter if it is earrings, doesn't matter if it is jewelry or a spa voucher. You are not allowed to take gifting from companies that make infant formula or infant feeding accessories. So we know that promotional is completely not allowed, but discounted, anyone, any takers for discounted products? So, yeah, let's have a look here. Get this slide up here. Sorry. If discounted, it is a way of promoting. Yes, absolutely. In any format, if you're discounting, say for example, Gift of the Givers came to me and said, you know what, we've got an orphanage here in one other area and we want to give discounted formula. The company is not allowed to give discounted formula. Okay, there's no donations in discounted formula. There is a protocol within each company, and that conversation will have to happen at that level. So also, for example, if you go into store and you have products that are, I was just going to say, discounted with the sticker, that is not allowed. You're not allowed to have any products that are 2 for 1 or, you know, at short dated. So that's why we're discounting it. Absolutely not. There's no such thing. Woo!
Okay, people, it looks as though Naazneen has lost her connection. So if we can just sit tight while she tries to reconnect, that would be great. Okay, Naazneen will be joining us again shortly. Hopefully she will get reconnected.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Sorry, I've had to connect with my phone because my laptop keeps saying that there's already a session and I'm not allowed to enter.
Shame. Never mind. I think I've got the right slide up for you.
I see the first slide, the R991 training.
Oh, goodness, that wasn't what I clicked on. Just give me. Okay.
There we go. Go
That
back.
one?
That's the one. That's the one.
Okay.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I really apologize. I don't know what happened. It just went black on me. So if I may just pick up where we left off. So discounted formula. Let's agree that we need to be very careful about what we can and cannot do there. What about a rep? That's the last picture then. What about a medical rep coming to detail at the clinic? I see hands up. Anthea, you wanted to ask a question? Raise your hand up. Let me just see here.
Yeah, the hand is up. I'm just trying to find her to unmute her.
I see that Maxine says, so here's an opening for a creative mind to design length maths without logos in them. Watch this space. Can you hear Naazneen? There we go. Sorry about that. Maxine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I think you probably would have missed quite a few questions now that you, Shamwick, kicked out of the session. So in terms of gifting, you said even if it's very small. So my question earlier about a bag or a shaker, that can be seen as a gift, and surely that's not allowed then.
No, so again, so remember that, for example, if it's, and I'm going to use the example now because you said Nestle, right, or Nutricia. If Nestle or Nutricia have given you this shaker, the shaker is not about infant feeding. Okay, first of all. Secondly, I want to ask this question. Do you as a nurse or a healthcare professional, but also in your own capacity, have room for adult formulation? The question is, the answer is probably yes, because you might be mixing one of their products, Nutritia's products, Nestle's product, and consuming it as a meal replacement, for example. I'm giving you a worst case scenario. And this shaker is intended to be a tool to help make an adult product. It's got nothing to do with infant formula. It's not meant to enable infant nutrition, infant feeding, infant discussion.
Okay, so what
Exactly.
about the pen that has the logo of the company on that I'm going to use in front of my
If you want to really be very strict about it, you should not be accepting any kind of branded product from any company. That is really being absolutely strict about it. You shouldn't. Let's take Nutritia's logo. Let's take Nestle's logo. That is a brand logo. They make a whole host of other things. That same Nestle logo is on a coffee cup, or it's on a Maggie 2-minute noodles pack. Okay, if you've got your Maggie 2-minute noodles out for lunch, it's not that you can't now hide that because Nestle also makes infant formula. Or if you got a buy one get one free infant 2-minute noodles, and the free one is lying on your lunch table, that doesn't make it a contravention. So no, those shakers are intended for adult use, for adult nutrition or adult products. So it's not a contravention. However, if this rep came to you, say Naazneen as the rep came to you, and I'm now promoting my sleeping baby products, and I bring you a sleeping baby scarf or a banner that just says, sleeping baby, and doesn't speak to any of the brands, but it speaks to sleeping baby, and you can put this wonderful banner up just above your head. And there's another one that's a sleeping baby mouse pad. And then we've got a sleeping baby frame, you can put your loved ones in there. It's got nothing to do with the Formula 1, Formula 2, but it's got sleeping baby. That will be construed as a contravention. Even if I came there and said to you, okay, you know what, I'm going to come and sponsor you to paint this wall in the colors of my brand. That's a contravention. Especially if I've got other things, glaring in the face that speaks to what I've done in your room. Does it make sense? Well, I'm hoping that answers your question. Okay. Let's move to the next one.
Sorry. There are a couple of questions that were asked. You want me to read them to you? The one is, can a company give a pen or utility item with a logo of a non-designated product older than 3 years to a healthcare professional?
Also look at it with intention, right? So say, for example, I have Sleeping Baby. That's my company name, and I have Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, and I'm giving you Formula 3 paraphernalia for your office. Okay, and I'm asking you to please display all this Formula 3 stuff. It's not coded. Okay, it's not coded. What's the intention? To give you all this branded stuff with 3+. The intention is my intention to promote my Formula 1, Formula 2. It probably is. that would not be allowed. And you'll see in slides, and I'm going to maybe say it here, it's not preemptive. I think, I do cover it in my slides. Currently, the R991 is being relooked. And it's being relooked because of these type of things, where liberties are taken to then, brand with 3 years plus, but you're already associating the branding with your Formula 1, Formula 2. However, if, for example, like I said, the shaker came with an adult product, or it's intended for the adult product to be used, and it has no bearing on my Formula 1, Formula 2. That I think I've explained. So that would be fine. Len, more?
The next one says, sorry, this may have already been covered. Maybe I missed it. Do all these regs apply only to infant formula or also to vaccine companies? I'm thinking of something silly like a pen with a company name, etc. Am I not allowed to accept it?
No, vaccine companies don't fall within the ambit of the R991. This is specifically about infant feeding and the accessories. So all the formula, milk powders, and the accessories that enable the formula. So the bottles, teats, drinking cups with spouts and straws. So not vaccines. Okay. Any more?
No, you can move on.
So I'm actually off my phone, so I'm going to ask you to maybe move to the next slide.
I have. It will appear in a minute.
Oh, I don't see it on my side. This is terrible. I'm so sorry. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. No, Lynn, I can't see it.
Okay, it's the one that's, I don't, can anybody else see it? On my slide, it says what about, and then the circles underneath, teats and spouts, samples,
Okay, let's talk about that.
bottles, brand extensions.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's have that quick discussion. So of bottles and teats and dummies and pacifiers, what are your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Do you think to use and display or put a pacifier in a mommy's bag would be contravening into these gift bags?
Somebody's saying yes.
I see that. Absolutely. So you can put it in mommy's bag. A pacifier is not a designated product. But of course, the teat that goes onto a bottle is. So you can comfortably recommend pacifiers if that falls within your protocol of, advising moms without any issue or complication. But just so that you know, bottles, teats, and the, cups with spouts and straws are all designated products. Did you know that? Okay, let's move to the next one. I said samples and low cost. So samples are not allowed. Low cost, we've discussed. I want to come to bottle packaging or teat packaging. So when we look at bottle or teat packaging, there are specific rules and regulations as well. And you'll see in the R991 that there are specifics in terms of, size and where things are placed. But for your purposes, I think it's really important to understand that when a manufacturer of a bottle or a teat, etc., accessory companies put on pack closer to the breast, mimics suckling of mother and child on mother, almost breast-like. If they have any kind of inferences about, excuse me, being as close to mommy's breast as possible, those are all contraventions, and they may not have those on their packaging. They can have inserts that are inside the packaging that speaks to the benefits of a different teat, using the one with slow flow versus fast flow, and the one that's latex versus, I don't know, silicone. And, you can have an insert that's between the inside the box, or a little pamphlet. And the same for infant formula, by the way. You can have, because that mom is already bought, you can have some information in the infant formula between the lid and the silver foil. So you often find a little bit of an insert there that speaks to the product, but that's often after mom has bought the product that it becomes available. Then the last one on this slide then is brand extensions, and I think I spoke about that. So at the moment, companies are taking a bit of liberty, because it's not in the R991 that says that you cannot advertise 3+. And what's happening is companies are then going a little bit crazy with branding their gifts and gifting with the extended age, the undesignated age category, and using them quite willy-nilly in clinics and in little institutions. So I just want to bring to your attention that, again, please look at the intention. What's actually happening there? Is it sleeping baby trying to give you a tool that, that can enable your practice? And are they doing the right thing? Or are they giving you things that will inevitably sway a mom's decision in your little clinic? Please hold that explanation true. You can skip to the next slide then, Lynn. What can we expect in the near future? So I did say that the current R991 is being relooked. And at this stage, I don't know when we'll have the opportunity to comment. In some meetings, I hear that, they hope to have something by the end of this year. In some meetings, I hear that, they're not ready. So I just wanted to prepare all of you that there is a new R991 that's being rewritten or included with, covering all the loopholes that have already been there. And I think it's going to be really, really strict. It's going to be much stricter than it is currently. So there was a question just now, what about a gift that doesn't have branding? Doesn't matter if it doesn't have branding, the fact that if I come to you as Naazneen from Sleeping Baby, and I say to you, okay, I'm giving you, let's say, all these little containers for babies, for your kids at home. It's lunch boxes for your kids at home. The affinity for me, or the tendency to feel, hey, Naazneen actually gave me all these lunch boxes. They're not branded, but I can use them at home for all of my kids. That's already swaying me, and it's considered a form of bribery. It's a gift. So it's not allowed. Let me just see if I can see any other questions here.
There's another question that's just come through. Can the insert have info on how to use it, or still just from HCP?
So it depends on what. I mean, if you're saying that you should use it for, let's say, for colic, for example, mom has already bought this knowing that it's for colic. So if in the packaging it says, this is how you use it, it's explanatory and it's scientifically factual. Mom has already bought it because it's not swaying her to purchase the product. It's not a form of promotion. It is not a form of, let me bend your arm because this is better. It's already, mom has walked away with it, and it is part of her basket already. She's taken it home. Okay, so there's differences that you would find, instead of having it stick it right in the front and actually drawing mom's attention to it and trying to persuade her before she's bought the product. Often, moms trust a brand, and then you'll find that they buy Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, and it goes that way. Remember that as a healthcare professional, your role is to extend breastfeeding for as long as possible. for as long as possible. So just keep that in mind. You know, if mom comes to ask you, rather explain to her what the issues are that she's experiencing and try to encourage her to overcome those issues before you then say, hey, you know what, take this formula, colic formula from Sleeping Baby, and that's what's going to help. I would just encourage you to maintain her breastfeeding for as long as possible and try to resolve those issues. How does one teach bottle feeding of express milk by example if no bottle and teat is allowed per R991 and cup feeding is not an option for the parent? So let's just clarify. It's not that you can't teach them. You absolutely can teach them. And that's the mom's decision. That's you as the healthcare professional's decision. The point is that it's not allowed to be advertised. We are not allowed as manufacturing companies, as healthcare professionals, to endorse, promote, encourage, um, persuade. If a mom comes to you and say, hey, you know what, I've got this overflow of milk, what am I going to do with all of this? You know, I'm feeling full at work, what do I do? And you're going to explain to her how to express this milk, and you're going to show her how to collect the milk, and you're going to show her how to fill the milk and measure the milk, how to freeze the milk in the bags. Absolutely no issue. Absolutely no issue. A feeding cup for a kid that's growing up, yes, you absolutely can say. You know, you get, for example, you get cups with spouts. You get cups with what's the one that suction? You know, the one that you just pull and the suction cup opens, the suction part opens. You get others that have spouts. If you feel like one works specifically for you and you prefer one, there's absolutely nothing to say, you know, you should or you shouldn't be able to use that. You can absolutely advise mom. So it's just that the manufacturers cannot display, you as a healthcare professional cannot have, you know, a cupboard full of Naazneen's or Sleeping Babies products and say, hey, you know what, here you go. Let's take them out and, you know, or just have a look at them. They're all packed from roof to floor. The next question. So if they say, sorry.
No, I was just going to say something, and I see that Trisha's asked the same question. The thing that's really important is that you aren't allowed to teach bottle feeding, formula feeding in a group setting. You can only do it on a one-on-one consult.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for that. You cannot have a presentation and have your 20 people that are there for breathing classes and teach them how to formula feed. You can show them how to express milk. You can show them how to store milk. You can show them, you know, the different apparatus, you know, the fast flow, slow flow, extra pumping, whatever equipment. That is 100% fine. But a one-on-one will be reserved then for the actual formula feeding education. Sorry, I'm just trying to see Karma's question. So if they say 3 cups per 200 ml water, it is fine. I don't understand that question, Karma. Maybe we can just allow Karma to ask that, to verbalize that. Karma?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, no, it was just a follow-up on the insert. So in the insert, they can say 3 cups per 200 milliliter water, just like instructions on how to use the product.
Yeah, absolutely. So that can also be on the external external part of the tin, because that is factual, how to reconstitute. If you saw my slide right up front, it's about sterilizing of the equipment. You can say to them, you know, 6 scoops per 200 ml, or if you know, there's different. Some bottles are 25 ml graded, some are 30 ml graded, for example. So moms have to be able to see that. You know, if I've got a bottle that's saying 30 mils, but the 25 mil scoop is in here, or, you know, you're able to show on the tin that, you know, 1 scoop per 25 mils of water, that information is absolutely critical, and it must be contained on the outside of the tin. Must be. That's part of the initial. Let me just quickly see where this is right at the beginning. So it's on the sixth slide, I think. It's about labeling, composition, and packaging. It's the graphic representation is limited to safe preparation, reconstitution, sterilization of equipment and utensils. So you can show them how to reconstitute, absolutely. You're welcome, Karma. Let's just see, I think that, we had a few other questions that came through before the presentation, Lynn. And the first question there was, has anything changed recently? I think that's about, what's the R991 going to contain going forward? How are the regulations combating subtle marketing? So I think to answer that question, I think the onus lies with every company and with you as healthcare professionals to be able to stop that subtle marketing and not be part of that subtle marketing. Sometimes it's not so subtle, hey? Sometimes it's quite overt. And I mean, you would have experienced certain things in your years as practitioner, etc. So you'd remember specific examples, I'm sure. So I would encourage you, if you don't want to report it to the IFA, because we're not a legislative body, we are not a body that can give out any kind of punishment, etc., especially if it's not a signatory company or a member company. Within our membership, we are very strict, and we definitely, engage every single time that there might be anything that comes to our attention. There's warnings, etc. But if somebody is not part of the IFA, there's very little that we can do except ask them nicely. I've been given middle fingers, like I've told you. But especially, I would suggest that even if you do contact us, we do escalate that to DOH. At the end of the day, they are the custodians of the R991, and the final decision about how to deal with contraventions lies with them. So we do not take on that responsibility, and we do not take on that stewardship at all. Please clarify the events about infants. I think we've done that. Please also explain what is allowed in terms of gifts. We've spoken about that. What impact does the regulation have on private independent practitioners? That's not a very simple question to answer, but I think in all the things that we've spoken about, I think that it's not a one size fits all there, but you have to do the right thing. There's R991, which is applicable to everybody, whether you're in private practice or whether you're working for government or whether you're affiliated to any other institution. The R991 is not just for government workers. So I think that answers, because there were so many components to getting to a final answer for that question. Then Hetty says, I missed the answer on question, does a bag branded differ from a branded pin, and we're allowed to teach mothers paste feeding? So like I said, the branded stuff, again, it has to be about intention. A sleeping baby, for example, is not going to give you a branded bag that you can put in other goodies for mom. So no. Branded pin depends on the logo. If it is, for example, if I've got a pin on there that says Formula One, sleeping baby Formula One, it would not be allowed. Absolutely not. To teach mothers paste feeding, I think that's paste feeding would be what? Is this breastfeeding? If it's breastfeeding, you're welcome to teach anything. But if it's about formula feeding, again, on a one-on-one, would be very critical. And that is then the end of my presentation. If there are any other questions that the team still has, please do send it through to Lynn or to myself at the IFA. I would gladly interact and answer your questions to the best of my ability. Keep them coming. Keep doing the right thing, and remember that it starts with you. The absolute governance of who's doing the right things starts with you as healthcare professionals. You have a very, very important responsibility. I see one last one here before I say goodbye. With a bottle, I think it's every healthcare workers with formula or breastfeeding have to teach paste ending one-on-one. There you go. Thank you, everyone. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Please feel free to answer your survey questions. And, like I said, again, reach out.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Thanks, Naazneen. And Tammy has put the link for the feedback form into the chat box. So you are all welcome to please click on that so that you are able to get your certificate of attendance, your perinatal CPD points, etc. And any other questions or interaction that you want, there is a place to actually put that on the feedback form under the extra comments. And once you've sent your feedback forms in, your certificate will be generated automatically. So if you don't send your feedback form, you won't be receiving a certificate of attendance.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lynn. Thank you, Tammy.